Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. So, this video is about President Trump's Caravan alarmism. Anyway, there's just 4 days to go until the midterm elections, and Donald Trump is in a blind panic, which is why he ratcheted up the rhetoric on the Caravan again. He was initially going to dispatch 5,000 troops to the border. Now he says it's going to be 15,000. It's been pointed out this means more troops on the southern border of the United States than in Afghanistan. Now, honestly, which is a higher priority? Which is a greater danger? Some unarmed people who we don't even know want to reach the USA, few of whom will reach the USA, who could easily be dealt with by Border Patrol, or the Taliban, or this vicious, tyrannical terrorist organization the USA is pledged to defeat. So he's not willing to properly support the troops in Afghanistan, but he is willing to move troops around pointlessly, where they won't even be allowed to do anything against illegal immigrants because soldiers are not allowed to act as police officers in the United States. It's against the law. So he's misusing the military solely for the purposes of PR as part of his campaign. It's disgraceful. I don't think any president's done this before. Oh, yeah, and how many people are the Caravan? I mean, the Caravan, the previous estimate was 5,000. Some of whom presumably want to settle in Mexico, maybe stopped by the Mexican authorities, especially as Trump has put pressure on them to do so. Trump says, no, the Caravan's much bigger than that. I'm pretty good at estimating crowd size. That was a direct quotation from him. Yeah, a bit like you told flagrant lies about the size of your crowd, the size of the crowd at your inauguration. So yes, you are pretty good at inflating figures, like how many jobs do we get from Saudi Arabia? You get the real figure, put a zero on the end, something like that. Not terribly good with numbers. So anyway, and then some of his Fox News acolytes were saying, these people are bringing smallpox, which was eradicated almost 40 years ago. By the way, smallpox usually doesn't kill people anyway. Now, we wouldn't want people to be seriously ill. We wouldn't want anyone to be killed. But it just shows that how completely irrational and bogus it is, some of these fears they're stoking about these illegal immigrants. Now, hundreds of thousands of people illegally immigrate to the United States annually, so we're told. 5,000 would make very little difference. And people have almost forgotten, in April, there was a similar scare, and it ended up with about 20 people crossing the United States border, getting arrested. All right, perhaps there are a few who got away. Leprosy, they're bringing leprosy. Some of the far-right commentators have said that. Now, 95% of the world's population are immune to leprosy. If you catch it, it can be cured, and it's quite difficult to catch. There were only about 20 cases in the United States last year, so I wouldn't want leprosy on anyone. I've saw people in Nepal who are suffering from it, actually. But really, this is not a significant danger. If you actually care about people's health in the United States, why not have publicly funded healthcare? How about that? Or why not restrict firearms? I mean, being shot is not good for your health. You could make that, ensure that happened rather less often than it does. And then Trump, because he's so frightened about losing the midterms, he talked about taking away birthright citizenship. It's a constitutional amendment, the 14th Amendment. He claims he can get rid of it by an executive order. No, the president can't change the Constitution by fiat. If that were the case, why did a Democrat president not introduce gun control just by an executive order? It's nonsense. Of course it can't happen. Nobody knows anything about law would believe that the president can simply change the Constitution on a whim. But Trump is so capricious. He obviously thinks birthright citizenship is a good thing. If he really thinks it's so terrible, why doesn't he renounce his own American citizenship? Because he was born in the United States. That's how he got to be an American. And his father was born in the United States, which is how he got to be an American. And his grandfather was naturalized. But obviously immigrating is evil, right? Unless you're white or something. What is Trump's view on this? His wife was naturalized. She was an immigrant. Is she evil? And his mother was an immigrant, and she was naturalized. But was she evil? Was she bringing disease and whatever? Crime and stupidity by immigrating from the United Kingdom? I don't think so, but that's Trump's view. So let's follow the logic in this. Come on, let's be more extreme than Trump. We should take away his citizenship and deport him, and deport everybody who arrived since 1607, since those vicious, whites who really were carrying diseases like the common cold, which killed some Native Americans, some of whom really were criminals. Indeed, some of the United States, it wasn't the United States at the time, was a dumping ground for English criminals. It was a fate worse than death, was transportation in the early 18th century, and they'd have to go and live there. Penal servitude, so work as slaves for up to 14 years, then be set free, but never allowed to cross the Atlantic again. And some of whom really were bringing drugs. Okay, on those days, it's actually alcohol, really, they were bringing, to some extent, opium, which was completely legal to sell at the time. And just think, in about 3 weeks' time, it'll be Thanksgiving, and people will be celebrating them as magnificent people who founded America. So that is that's his pitch for the election. Unfortunately, it will play well with a segment of the population. The xenophobic and bigoted segment of the American population is larger than I had realized. The past couple of years, I realized just how vicious a considerable number of people are. I know it's not unique to the United States. There are people like this in every country. However, I suspect there's a rather larger proportion in the United States than elsewhere.